rip it off?
Now it's time for the song.
1, 2, 3, crawfish.
Wait.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Poets Return podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Bowie, and this week we have Flannery Maney and Amy Sudo of the Kingdom of Pavement. Now, this week's episode is a little bit different simply because we're not going to be reciting poetry or reading any of our words today, although Flannery and Amy are both amazing writers. Today is kind of more about talking, I don't want to call it business, but it is sort of the entrepreneurial business side of the art world. And these two are the founders of the Kingdom of Pavement, which is an online publication, which even on their website it says right there, their mission is to increase visibility for artists, writers, creatives in Los Angeles. So Kingdom of Pavement, really their mission statement is to create a safe space for artists to come, feel at home, and have a space where they can share their words, share their work, collaborate, meet new people within the artistic community, which is absolutely crucial because it is the lifeblood of the artistic community, being able to connect with people and find a safe space to share your work. So I'm incredibly impressed by what these two have done. They haven't even had the publication for an entire year. Amy and Flannery, back when I recorded this, which I think was early December, they actually did their first official publication in April, had started launching the website in March, and have now recently officially started the publishing arm of their website where they're able to actually publish writers on the website. So there's merchandise on the website. They have amazing things on there for anyone who wants to go. The Kingdom of Pavement website is absolutely full of amazing experiences in LA, amazing new artists, articles. I can't tell you how impressed I am by what these two have put together, all with the mission statement of profiling rising creatives, in the Los Angeles underground and beyond, which is on their webpage as well. So I loved getting to sit down and talk to them. We had an absolute blast chatting. My lovely friend, Elena Scarlett Murray, who will also be on the podcast, has performed. The Kingdom of Pavement does an open mic every month, and she's actually performed as one of their featured opening artists for their open mic. And she was the one who actually introduced me. So shout out, huge amounts of gratitude to you, Elena. And I'm just excited for you to get to meet these two ladies. They both are actually not far from me in terms of where they live in Los Angeles, which is really cool. They do a writing group every Monday, which is another thing I really admire, holding each other accountable. And they just really are a very great depiction of a good team, two collaborators motivated and continuing to innovate. And actually, this was one of the first podcast episodes I ever recorded, so please forgive. There is some background noise. I also have noticed recording these episodes and doing my own editing, when I get really passionate about something, I like to hit things and tap things. So I apologize. Some of that happens in this episode. But again, kingdomofpavement.com, haven't even been around a year, but you have to check out their website as well as their open mics. So here are Amy and Flannery, and this is Creating a Safe Space with the Kingdom of Pavement ladies. I'm here with Flannery.
Hi.
And Amy from Kingdom of Pavement, an amazing platform for new artists and poets and people and writers. My friend Elena, who was on an earlier episode, has performed with them and has worked
several
with them
times.
And speaks the world of them. So
yeah, we do them this second to last Saturday every month.
The open mic nights.
Third
Saturday of every month.
Third Saturday. That's kind of what I meant, but the third Saturday. It's easier,
second
cleaner.
To last, third Saturday, I guess.
Right. But we do open mics for poets, musicians, comics, storytellers, anything that you want to bring in. And Elena's performed several times. So
she's awesome.
Yeah, she's incredible. We love her.
And how many artists do you usually have that come? And it probably varies.
Yeah, so the thing that's different about our open mic nights compared to other open mic nights in the city is that we curate the first half of the show. So we pick 5 to 7 featured performers like Elena, who we believe in, and most of these people have also been published on our website or we've interviewed them, and we know that they're really phenomenal talent, and we want them to set the tone for the open mic night. So we always start with those 5 to 7 performers, and then from there it's whoever else is in the crowd. So we can can go for up to 2.5 hours with, we've had school teachers take the mic. We had a really lovely man from Venezuela, I think, come, and like he was in a screamo band, and he had taken the lyrics from his screamo band and turned it into poetry, and it was beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
So we just get all sorts of different people from all walks of life sharing their poetry, and it's really kind of a grab bag of whoever shows up, but every show has been really phenomenal of these crazy talented people.
Dang. Well, and that's only going to help you continue to grow, because when people hear about stuff like that, it's encouraging, and it's legit when you have those featured artists to kick it off. I feel like it, like you said, sets the tone, and people can kind of both be encouraged to share and also know. We all know those mics we've been to are,
Right.
Yeah,
I think exactly. This is a little odd.
Exactly.
I think we've really worked hard to cultivate a safe space, and not only that, but like a warm space and a space with like energy. I don't know how to describe that, but we specifically choose our people at the top who are really excited to be there. And I think a lot of times there's a lot of timidity like coming in, being an open mic performer, but then a few people get up there and you start to see people kind of smile and like get really into it and get used to it. And the more we have, the more we notice people ease into it. I mean, last time we were all up doing like a motivational speaking exercise because there was a motivational speaker there, like wanted all of us to introduce ourselves. But what was amazing is meeting people in the audience and being like, oh my God, like you're a development executive and like you're a teacher and you're my roommate. But like, it's interesting seeing how you stand up and explain, it's a really... makes you facilitate a community, and that's what we wanted out of this. We wanted it to be like a face-to-face connection that you're forming with someone who also wants to get their art out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what's been really neat is a few of our performers from the open mic nights have started to connect and plan other projects with each other, which is the whole point of what we're doing in terms of not only having an audience to see your work, but also to connect fellow creators and then get them off doing their own things and how to see how we can support them in that. So it's been a lot of cool connections that have started to form.
Which I love, even on the Kingdom of Pavement, kingdomofpavement.com's their website. And right on the front webpage, on the homepage, it says, Profiling Rising Creatives in the Los Angeles Underground and Beyond. I love that. And all forms of poetry, but like specifically spoken word and a lot of these things that come in waves. I feel like sometimes you get more artists that come up and then it gets quiet for a second, or it seems that way at least. And I think that's because there is an underground feel to it, where sometimes people aren't involved because it seems like it's like more inaccessible than it actually is. Because, people, like we were just talking about this idea of poetry, or people people create a distance, I think, sometimes because there's almost this classic loftiness of poetry, and then with beat poetry, people I think sometimes can get intimidated because it can be in your face. And so I think it's the whole underground idea is something that I love, because I feel like all artists can kind of relate to that, because there is this sort of feeling of we're in the underground and beyond.
Right. And I think that's what I love the most about doing open mics is because everything you submit your writing to is typically a website. So you're not seeing the people behind it. Yeah. But legitimately, like, we're available if you wanted to email us or call us, just like talk about art and submit stuff. Like, I think we're still kind of like stepping our way towards having poets send us stuff that we can publish on the site that we think is great. Or, stepping towards like having short story writers or journalists reach out and sort of publish through us. And that's the eventual goal. But what's been really great about the open mics is like putting faces to the names. People know who we are, and it's no longer this confusing thing. Even though I feel like our website is pretty accessible, but it's like still a website. I think it's nice for people to be able to come in and be like, oh, those are the Pavement girls. Like, they know sort of who they're even talking to.
Or that's Elena. I read her poem on Kingdom of Pavement. So it's kind of making those connections that kind of jump beyond that.
Right.
So,
and it's getting that underground and beyond to be one community.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
It's just like, we're all in this world together, and sometimes it feels that distance is so easy nowadays. Yeah. Which is why connecting in person and, like you said, being able to have people know that you can support them, you can help them. You're just trying to build this community and give people a voice.
That's actually so interesting, something that I didn't think about, but it must be a lot harder. It's easier in some senses because you can reach out on Instagram, you can reach out and you can access information through so many different channels. However, it makes us all feel like we're in a cylinder, I think, that's just specific with our stream of content. And I oftentimes forget that there's so many people around me that want to collaborate and do amazing things and create art. And that's honestly, Pavement has reminded me of those things because there's so many ideas we have. And I immediately am like, well, but we're going to have to pay them a day rate, which is going to be expensive and this and that. And then I think about it, I'm like, wait, but there's people who actually just want to work with us, like, and make cool things. And we want to, like, create a space for people to make cool things. So, like, it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah. Well, and it's like we all need each other.
Yeah.
You know, we all...
The snake. Separate, we die.
Completely. And if you don't grow, you die, right? There's
Beautiful
like no
way to
other
end that
option.
conversation. It's the snake!
She shouted. The pavement girl keeps talking about snakes. I don't know. But that's amazing, and I think it's so crucial. It's so crucial, especially now, because it's so easy to feel disconnected and to I feel like we ostracize ourselves sometimes just because it gets overwhelming with social media. It's like, oh, I need to get more followers. I need to put myself out there, and instead it gets daunting and you do the opposite and you hide. So when you have a creative support, it's huge. It's huge to know someone will listen to you, because how often do we... I mean, I won't get into it, but it's like the philosophy of ghosting in the modern age. It's so easy for people to just not say anything. It's easy to put your shit out there, and you never hear anything from people. And it's like, oh, okay. And of course we take it personally.
Do you think that's due to, like, the sheer amount of content that exists now, that it's difficult, or do you think people have changed?
I think it's become more convenient to not have to deal with, like, the conversation. You know what I mean? Like, it's become easier to just not respond, just not deal with it. And I think it is also that there is so much content, especially with social media. There's so many platforms for people. I mean, I can't even keep up with, like, my Netflix, Hulu, Disney, Amazon Prime, like, all these apps on my Apple TV that I'm just like, what's the next one they're going to make me add, because it's now the new streaming service. And so there is, I think, a kind of overwhelming amount of content, but I also feel like it's easier for people to go into their device and not deal with people and be like, I'm just going to pretend you're not there. I mean, we do it all the time, like, in awkward situations where I'm like, and I'm getting on my phone because I don't know what else to do right now. So, I don't know. I think that's why stuff, again, like, this is why with Poets Return, Kingdom of Pavement, all of these things, I had an artist on the other night that just did an original show called the Milk Crate Monologues at Town Street Theater. And it's, you know, he's got, like, a whole history of rap. He's been signed to 3 different labels. He's been through it. And he's finally, like, realizing, like, beat poetry and doing theater. This is, like, what he wants to do with his stories. And I just think that's huge to have a platform to do that, because it is so many artists, I think, slip through the cracks because they're afraid to ask or put themselves. And so to know that there's people that will listen to you.
I also think it's so cool that now he has complete control. In theory, from what I just heard, it sounds like he has, you know, he's not on a label. He's in control of his own thing. And that's honestly what I'm focusing on with new projects that I'm working on as an individual artist. That's what I'm looking for, because there's ways to fully produce a series by yourself. Yeah. And not in the typical way. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want everyone to steal my idea. You know, but no, I mean, I just think there's ways to think outside of the box. And even what we're doing with Pavement, like, I feel like we could totally eventually, with enough funding, figure out a way to make a channel of content. And that's kind of the goal. We want to facilitate the creation of anything artistic, so, like, that's totally on the table.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of leading into our next initiative that we're going to be moving forward to, which is kind of opening the publishing arm of the physical book publishing arm of Kingdom of Pavement, which we talked a little bit about in our last open mic night, where we're working with a small a book artist who does small print runs of books, and she is studying under a bookmaker in New York City, and she has a residency at UCSB, and we are going to be selling her first collection of handmade books that are illustrated, and they feature Tinder bios, and they're beautiful. There's only I think 17 that exist in the world, and they're handmade, hand-bound, and like really beautiful books. And through her, we're also going to be publishing pamphlets of poetry and short stories that are going to be illustrated. Like, it's going to be a completely, like, it's going to be an experience. It's going to be the vinyl record of books. It's going to be this like beautiful experience of reading that is divorced from a tablet or a computer, and it's going to be featuring our writers and poets and artists as we continue to grow down the line.
So cool. They're so cute. I don't like.
They're-
I almost
the book
cried
is
looking at it. I
beautiful.
was like,
It's very
what
beautiful.
the
I
hell?
want to see this like right now.
I know we should have brought it.
That sounds amazing. But that's like what it's all about. You're connecting with these amazing people that can only help you further
Yeah.
the medium and keep going and growing. So that's amazing. Well, tell us a little bit about, so how did the two of you begin to collaborate and work together? Tell us a little about the Pavement Girls' history.
Oh my god! I like this thing, the Pavement Girls. I think
No,
it's
it's
going to
gonna
be our
catch
new
on.
little catchy thing. I met Amy through my friend Sam Sharma, who is the connector of all people. Insane.
awesome,
She's
yeah.
amazing. We talk about her all the time. But that was kind of it. We were both screenwriters. We wanted to work in TV, and we read each other's stuff, and we're like, okay, cool. And then Amy invited me to writers group.
Yeah,
and that
she's
was
now part
it.
of my Monday writers group for the past.
The
we've
best
been,
thing I've
past 2
done
years. Yeah,
in
it's been,
life.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
You meet every Monday?
Yes,
Monday.
and lovely group of people.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
It's
really,
changed my
really
life.
astounding writers. Yeah.
Because Amy was already like up here, like level 8, and I
So were
needed
you.
to level up to level 8 and like really be with these other female writers who are like, and now male, we have a man now. We have a man.
We have a man now.
We got one. We got him. We caught him in a net and brought him back. No, but it's such a supportive group, such a smart group, and I think we all really benefit from it. But that was and then we became friends too. We were just like, we should hang out. Like, like work aside, like we should hang out for sure.
That's amazing that you have a writing group that meets every Monday for
Yeah,
2 years.
yeah. This idea of like finding creative communities has always been an important part of our own process,
Yeah.
and so many people that we've met with don't have that support. Especially if you just moved out here, people who are brand new, it's really hard to plug into things like that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's definitely, I know it's a struggle in any big city, but I think LA especially, it can be very difficult to find, like, I don't want to say good people, but there's just like bad people out there, but
And everyone's in their cars, car culture,
Yeah,
which I
it's
love
hard.
and hate.
Community.
same.
I was just thinking about because my dad was visiting this weekend. I didn't get to go on a writers retreat with like my old group of writer friends, and like they're still my friends, but I don't take class there anymore because the teacher is now working too much and he can't do class. But they all went to Big Bear and posted a picture, and I had this insane like melancholy pang of emotion because I was thinking about how integrated in that community I used to be, and how because I've branched out and gone on to do other things, I don't see that group of people that often. But it truly, like, moving from the Midwest, making friends with all these writers. I was an actor too for years before I started writing, so I was used to people who just wanted to be friends with me based on like acting related
Right.
things, which is totally great. But writers, it's like I found my family,
Yeah.
my people.
Your
And
people.
so but that community meant so much to me. But then it made me reflect, and I'm like, but I have Monday night, which feels like such a beautiful, like, I don't know what I would do without Monday night. And I have all those friendships that have sort of come from that. But yeah, community to me is a huge reason why we started this, because there just really isn't, there's like huge communities, like the SAG actors, and like
Right.
this writing class I'm in is huge. Kim's class has a ton of people, which is great, but also like there's really something to be said for like a small, like, intimate group of artists that can support each other and that have each other's backs.
Totally.
And that's like really necessary for me to live.
Yeah, and when we started the publication in, I think, March. We started working on it, and I think our first issue came out in April, if I remember correctly. And so we haven't,
you're killing it.
so we haven't been when we started putting things together, just like all the pieces fell really quickly because people were excited to jump on board, and we've grown in our
And
vision
Amy's
really
a
quickly.
badass.
And you too. And we actually had NBC show up for our first open mic night because one of the
forget about
stars.
that.
I don't think the episode's aired, so we still can't talk about it. But the stars of one of their shows read poetry and brought along her camera crew, and they filmed the entire first half of our open mic night, so which we're going to air to over 1 million people
Because of Amy.
because they reached out to us. They saw she saw our marketing somewhere in the world and was like, I want to be a part of this. And we've been running into people who keep feeling this of like they see what we're putting out in the world and they're like, this aligns with our values. We want to be a part of this. So I think that it's really important that as a company in the arts, we want to make sure that we're putting out our values of what we value in creating safe spaces and creating places for artists and like making sure that we put our values out there so we can attract like-minded people.
Well, and not to get like all spiritual, but I feel like when you get like a group of people that are doing something, like it's very contagious. Like there's something about it that people gravitate towards. They want to be a part of it because people are starving for this. People are starving for artistic community and for a place to not only have their voice heard, but to hear others to know they're not alone and stories they can relate to.
Not only that, but I personally find because my screenwriting career is I'm doing air quotes right now, just putting that out there, because I want that to be my job that I make money from. That's my goal, and that's a great goal to have. However, there's other artistic pursuits that I want to be working on while I'm doing that. And I think I think poetry, like, I don't know the last person that made a living from poetry, but you probably know. I think it is because it is. It's so sad how like writers aren't famous like they used to be. It's just a totally different world.
It's a different world.
So I feel like most people who I know who write poetry, they do it because they love poetry, and that's so beautiful. And that's how I feel like if we were working on producing like a visual poem, I feel that everyone would be doing it because they're so excited by it and so interested in creating this piece of art. And at that point, like, you kind of have to treat everything like it's not a business because you're doing it because you're passionate about it. And that's when I find the joy. And it's how do you like mesh that feeling of joy when you're also getting paid a salary and you're also paying other people. It's like, how do we, especially when you're at the level of like indie films, when the scarcity is a thing, like you're not at a huge studio where like, oh yeah, just throw money at that, and you're not even seeing the money because there's so much money. But at a lower level, everything becomes so, like there's a fantastic editor that I want to hire for this short film. I can't afford him. And it's like, it's making me be like, I can't not pay him his rate. Like, that's not who I am. And, so yeah, that's kind of the thing that I've noticed is when you are doing something just because it brings you joy, that's the community we've created. Like, everyone's just there because they want to be joyful
and
together.
still trying to find that way that commerce can support art. We sell t-shirts and things and like buttons. And we've been lucky to have like a venue to work with who's like super cool with like not charging us anything up front for using the space. So we're trying to find ways to support our community and find sponsors to help like find ways to maybe create micro grants for our artists. And so we're working on all of these different things to help use commerce to support our art, but it's always a tension that we're facing when wanting to move into something new, is trying to figure out how to make sure that all of our communities accessible, like can still go to our events. Like, we're not going to raise the ticket prices of our open mic nights ever. They're always going to be $5. We're never going to raise them because we never want price to be a barrier. So trying to find other ways to like cover costs and like do all of these other things and getting creative. So, but it is always a tension that we're aware of, especially in like these artistic communities where it's a shame that poets aren't making as much as bankers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Unless you know 5 poets who are.
And go.
No, it is. My gosh. It is. And you look at other countries and there's art subsidies, and I'm not saying that, I mean, in Germany they work on Shakespeare for like 8 years. I mean, it's considered very important. And I think in this very strong-armed pursuit of the American dream, the general consensus in America is you like work yourself until you're dead and then get as much money as possible so you can retire and then die. Like, sorry to make this grim.
You can retire and expire.
No, but I mean, like, where's the joy in that? Where's the artistic? There's not a lot of.
Well, it's like there's some Keanu. Like, I love Keanu Reeves because I just think he's a beautiful human.
He's amazing.
So, I love him. And he has some quote that's like, it's cliche, but he's like, life. Why would you not enjoy it? Like, go dance in the ocean. Like, go walk on. Like, it's just. People are so, and I do it too, just because I don't want to have to stress living hand to mouth as an artist in LA. It becomes survival, and so you're always thinking of ways of, okay, how can I make money so I don't have to stress about it.
Right.
But then you end up stressing about it anyway
and you're not enjoying, and so, because I think it's also, like, with everything that you've created, even in the last 6 or so, not even, months, since March, April, so 6 months, 7 months, it's when you're doing something that you are passionate about and you believe in and that brings you joy, again, people freaking gravitate towards it. So it's like, even if you go, I don't know how I'm going to make money doing this, but I'm going to quit my job and pursue my dream. And I'm not saying that this works out, it's a fairy tale for everybody, but there is something to be said about the fact that you kind of know when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And people can sense that because it's very attractive when there's something that people are there's a movement happening. Even if it's just a movement of a writing group meeting every week. That little thing can affect so much more. And I think that's why stuff like this is, again, so important, because people need that, and they need to know that they can, I don't know, have a safe space. Like
and especially a safe space to escape from the fact that we're all still caught in the cycle of day jobs and stressed about money and stressed about family stuff and stressed about health, and to be able to set that all aside and just be in a space with other people who make stuff and who also have those same struggles and concerns, but you can be like, okay, we're putting that aside and we're just going to listen to some poetry
for 2 hours, we're going to focus on this, and we're going to be in the present. And
it reminds you that there's other people who feel the same way. I mean, this is cliche. That sounds like Elena doing poetry about someone being frustrating to her because of her gender. I'm like, fuck yes. Every time I listen to, sorry.
Do not apologize.
Every time I listen to one of her poems, I like find myself being like, oh.
Same.
She gets me. I know she gets me heated, like in a way that I'm like,
it's beautiful.
A lot of it is her delivery too. I love her rhythm. And it just feels almost like a pentameter, like the way that she delivers it. Yeah. You can tell that she's an actress.
Yes.
Yeah. You can definitely tell.
We had one show where this beat poet, Beast Strike, was up doing his amazing, incredible poetry. And what was super special, not only did he give such a really amazing performance, but a few moments later, his friends who just came with him to just, watch him perform, came up to us and were like, this is an open mic, right? Can we perform? And they took the stage, they plugged in their phone, they put on a beat, and they were like, everybody get up, we're dancing. And the band is called Banana Who. They're the most electric duo we've ever met. They started rapping, they started dancing, they're married, they have a kid, they're amazing, they have so much cool energy, they have like new singles on Spotify, they're like our new obsession. Like we featured them on our last open mic night, and it was just incredible because it was a beautiful moment that just happened where like two friends who tagged along took the stage and got the whole crowd dancing together.
But the best thing about Banana Who is that they got the whole crowd dance. Like they will because we'll be sitting there, they'll call us out and be like, okay, everyone get up, we're gonna dance, like, because that's all we want to be doing that. We just feel like we're constricted because we're in this societal situation and we need to sit and be quiet and listen. But it's supposed to be an interactive experience of going to an open mic. And not only that, but when they listen to other people, they're like nodding their heads and like snapping and engaged in it. And that's, I think that, like we talked about on our last podcast, like being present in every moment is kind of the only way you can truly appreciate every moment. And that's what they scream to me. Like they're always present and they're always like
having fun,
daring people to join that presence.
Yeah.
Love them.
I love daring. I love that. That's because I feel like daring is such like a playful way. Like it's like, you want to do this.
Daring greatly. My favorite quote. I'm not going to recite it. Why do you like that? It's so long, but it's basically like, the man in the arena. And he only, he has faced a lot of judgment, but at least he's not like those souls who refuse to dare greatly. He goes in and fights, and he does so. Whatever, he stumbles and all of these things, but at least he did so daring greatly.
I love that, and I think that that's one of the things that so many, it's like taking that jump. And Elena's talked to me about this before too, and she's like, Bowie, you gotta just take the leap, and you gotta just jump, because as artists, when you're standing at that precipice and you're afraid to share, you're afraid to get up and say your words, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, whatever it might be, it's like you're never gonna be quote unquote good enough, you're never gonna be quote unquote ready. You just gotta do it. Like, it's not about that. It's
so subjective too. Like, your spreadsheet, if you're an accountant, is either gonna be pretty much right or wrong, right? So it's easy to be like, okay, great, I got a check mark. But a poem is never right or wrong. A script is never right or wrong. There's always going to be someone who is touched by your art. So in a way, this is what I trick myself to think, no matter what, no matter how many people it's not for, there has got to be one person it's for. And that is my motivation of putting it out there and trying to put it out there in public. I think the best thing to do is to put your work out there in public. And it's hard as a writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
But there's no better feeling. There's no sweatier feeling than when you're sitting there about to have a table read for a script that you haven't heard out loud yet. There's just nothing like it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I mean, it's your words coming to life. It's like magic.
Right.
Like witchcraft and wizardry. It's like
You don't write a script for it to sit in your drawer. You write for it to be read.
Right, to come. Yep. Well, and that's like even Shakespeare would, it's like
Yeah.
these words have to live. They have to breathe. And that's how we tell our stories since before we even could speak the same languages. We were, writing on walls and making noises and dancing around fires to try to talk to each other. So
I adore when people are like, it's Shakespeare, and they treat it like this thing. Here's the thing. Shakespeare, it was like a fraternity. Like, it was him and his ridiculous friends, and they ran around, and they would give, you know why it's called a roll? It's because they would give you a rolled up piece of paper with your lines on it. That's why it's called a fucking roll. And there's more, too. They basically, gave them the lines the morning of the play.
insane.
And then you'd
bottle of
just,
wine.
you'd be wasted, and you'd only get the cue lines of the person before you. So if Amy's line was this whole speech, and the last one is, and then she left me forever, that's the only line that I get of yours before I know that I'm supposed to start talking. It's just bananas. Like, if you think, yes, he's brilliant, of course, but it's just hilarious how seriously people take art. And we're not curing cancer. We're just making art. And, that kind of perspective on it is definitely how I always want to.
Playing pretend.
Right.
Yes.
Sometimes
100%.
people give us money, sometimes not. That's it. That's the only.
No matter what, we will persevere and we will continue to play pretend.
Yeah, just because someone gives you money for your playing pretend doesn't mean you can be an asshole to everyone. Just saying.
That's true. And it also doesn't make your work better or worse. I just co-wrote an episode of TV this year, and I got paid money for that, but I think my greatest piece of work is something that I haven't gotten paid money for. So it's money doesn't mean anything.
Totally. When you hear so many writers that say, people that the most popular thing is their least favorite thing, that's like the thing that they hate, the song they don't want to sing, the book they don't want to talk about, whatever. Cause it's like, mainstream.
Yeah.
Now, business-wise for Kingdom of Pavement, because I know it's been recent, so how did you go about kind of just getting the website together? How did you decide, okay, we're going to do the podcast, we're going to do... I just love to hear a little bit about those conversations and the decisions to go for.
Shall we act it out for her? This is me. I'm in my room 6 months ago, and I'm sitting there typing very slowly on my computer a script that I still haven't finished to this day. And then I get a call from Amy. Go ahead.
Flannery, do you want to do this thing? Let's go meet and drink somewhere and talk about it.
And then I closed my computer screen and I said, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Cut forward to the podcast. Okay, here's me in my room. I'm typing away very slowly. I still haven't finished. Okay, Amy. Okay.
Flannery, do you want to come make a podcast? I have no plans. Let's just do it.
We can make a podcast?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And so on and so forth. That happened with the LLC. Amy's incredible at being... In the website, too, we were sitting in a coffee shop, and I was like, hey, so how do we make a website? And Amy opened up her computer and said, oh, it's already made. Here it is.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
To be fair, my parents are programmers and small business owners, so the skills all come from them.
Yeah,
so
but
I grew up working in my parents' Pulp Fiction bookstore where I updated the blog. I shipped books including to a few celebrity people. And so I grew up learning how to update websites, and that's what I do now.
Amy's incredible, and I really lucked out getting to go on this journey with her because she not only knows so much more than me, but she holds herself to the highest standard. And this is my really bad fatal flaw as a human. I'm a rusher. So I like to rush through things and be done with them and not think about it. And so if I need something to look amazing, it will never get done because I will sit there and I will toy with it and I will be insecure, like that script that I haven't finished, and I think that like, I do really care about this. And it was because you were able to be like, this is the template, like, we can make changes, you know, like, to take that first step to rip the Band-Aid was really helpful. And since then, there's been so many instances of, like, we just launched as an LLC. Woo! Amy did all the research. Like, we talked about it a lot, but, you know, she, like, took the step. And I don't think I would have been brave enough to. So...
Well, that's why it's all about the teams. We find
Totally.
people that strengths and weaknesses,
Yes.
complement, balance. Like, I had a director that once told me, like, everybody needs a friend that tells them what they want to hear and a friend that tells them what they need to hear. And, like, I think in artistry that's so true, especially in partnerships, is also finding a person that can, like, kind of do both with you and when it needs to happen.
Yeah.
But a person that will be accountable and, like, I'm definitely not the person that's good with websites or good with all that crap, like editing. I'm getting better, but it's still, I'm like, ugh, I feel like an old lady. Like, I like, need my glasses. I'm like, how does this contraption work? But, you know, you have friends and people that support you that can help you and teach you and can complement.
Yeah, and Flannery, like, compliments me so well because I'm also very, very introverted, so whenever at open mic night, she's always such a gracious host, and she's always finding, like, these really talented people and just making everyone feel warm and welcome, so it's, like, definitely finding those people that complement each other. So,
Thanks.
lucky to have found Flannery.
There's something about finding your crew. Like, your crew has to have complement. Like, you don't want a whole crew of brutes. You don't want a whole crew of the strongest guy. You want a crew of strong guys but smart, you know. It's like we all have to find the crew that works and the people that can kind of fit into this puzzle where you work together well and collaborate and find an ensemble of people that, like, complement each other. It's tricky. Like you were saying, in LA, it can be tricky finding your niche. But I think that's huge. And, like, talking about with, like, the business, melding business with art can be so intimidating. And there are so many things, especially nowadays. The web, you got to do a website. You got to keep up with social media, promoting, marketing, reaching out, looking for grants, looking for money, advertisement. Like, it's just, there are moments when it feels endless and it can be intimidating. But I think it's when you have a group and you have a team to help you, it becomes a challenge worthwhile, and it's just something that's like, bring it on.
Yeah, and we're lucky with we have a team behind us. It's like not just us anymore. We hired an amazing assistant, Lex, who I know from high school.
Wow.
So because I have like a bunch of freelance work, I put some of that budget towards hiring her to help us with all of the stuff that we need help with in terms of newsletter, nitty gritty. And she also drives out here for open mic nights night. She stays with me and she brings her friend Ray, and Ray does our chalkboard art, and
gosh.
Lex just helps us keep everything organized. And then we also have our friend Will, who is helping us with our sound.
Yeah.
So we've been very lucky to have all these people around us, and it's been really awesome, and we're just trying to give back to them as much as possible, paying them or otherwise, and making sure that they all feel part of the team. So we're starting to grow slowly, but we rely on them heavily. Otherwise, like,
Yeah.
Will is the reason why our open mic nights sound so much better, and like he brings extra speakers,
He
and
just
like
does it because he loves it. Like we did an act, him and I. He's a friend that I performed music with last year, and I reached out because I was like, I want to do an act with somebody, and he was like, this is a thing, and then immediately was so into it and brought all of his equipment. And I think just so many artists are looking for a place to collaborate
home.
and
Yeah.
to call home,
Yeah, yeah.
and so he's been really great, and you know, but he's also taking steps with us forward. He has a ton of ideas as far as outreach, and it's basically like people can come be a part of it as much as they want to be, which is great as
Yeah.
well. There's no like
obligation.
there's
or
no
anything.
obligation.
Yeah.
There's no submission. There's no, like, you don't have to pay us every month. Like, it's just legitimately like,
How can we help you?
Yeah.
We have a venue. What else do we want to do? Like, how can we support you as an artist? And
Totally.
And he's is one of those great people who also really wants to help us keep the integrity of the open mic nights and make sure that our sound quality is as great as possible. So we've been lucky to find these people who want to add to our missing pieces of the puzzle, and we want to spotlight them as much as possible too.
Which is what it's all about, because that's the only way that stuff like this can continue to thrive and, like, have a presence. You
Right,
know?
right.
That's the only way. So
Yeah.
it's a huge accomplishment to even just find one person that is willing to do something like this with you, and to be able to grow in the short amount of time that you have. It's kind of crazy, I'm sure, to look back and be like, wow, like you said, like, I was sitting at my laptop and, like, here we are.
it's true.
We'll be in 6 months, which is a cool thought, right? It's exciting.
Go back to writing that script, and I'll give you a call.
2 weeks later.
Every time Flannery sits down,
like
You need to do real work. I'll be like, hey,
Amy's
Flannery.
like, hey, I'm outside in the hot air balloon. God damn it. Yeah.
never gonna finish that script.
Well, so the next thing would be the open mic this month, right?
We are waiting until January just because of the holidays.
Yeah.
People are gone.
We're leaving.
Family.
But
we return January, and then every third Saturday of the month will be 7 p.m. At Aunt Bessie's on Pico, and $5 gets you to come in and see a great show.
Yeah, and like they said, they have featured acts to start, and then it's an open mic, which is freaking amazing and exciting, and I'm definitely going to be there for them.
Yes,
January.
good.
And bring friends. We're
I
trying
will.
to grow. Yeah.
I come with like 50 people.
Well, we were sold out our first opening
standing
night.
room only.
It was
crazy.
so stressful,
And
but
now
great.
we've settled down to still selling plenty of tickets, but not like getting
It's definitely a really
intense.
comfortable.
So
good
we're very
level.
lucky.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say was, listeners, email us your work. We want to read your stuff. We want to watch your web series. We want to watch your audition tapes cut together in a funny way, because that stuff matters to us. I know that it feels like every audition, like when I was an actor, every audition just was like gone when it was done.
Right,
and I've
right.
often thought about like cutting them together to be a funny thing and like actually making it into something, because all of them have decent sound quality, and you know, I worked hard on them. So, or anything, drawings, photography, we want to see it, because that's what I think that's the next step, is like really getting people to like send stuff, and we'll either publish you or want to work with you,
collaborate. Like
or
we're collaborating
collaborate.
like this with this book artist, and like
Yeah.
we're just constantly trying to meet people and find new ways to add them to the puzzle.
And the
Yeah.
website again is really accessible. There's, the about and submit. It's really easy. The podcast is right on the webpage, kingdomofpavement.com. And I love this too. There's some pictures here that you should all go look at.
What is it?
I love the podcast episode. You're in front of TVs.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
Great
great
room
picture.
86.
That was
Our
us.
roommate took that photo.
Going out.
Such a
fun.
great
No,
shot.
I love
it.
Pavement girls are on the page.
Pavement girls.
Yes.
Pavement girls, hashtag. But yes, please listen to their podcast. Go to their website. January is the next open mic, and just submit your stuff, people, because it's all about finding a good safe space with good people that are willing to listen and help you create.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, ladies, I'm probably going to have you back on at some point, because I would love to, and I don't know if you'd open this, but I would love to also come to one of the open mics and just like maybe film something.
Definitely,
interview,
please.
because I know we'd want to put stuff on the YouTube channels too.
Yeah.
Anything to help grow and feature and all that.
Totally, yeah, and we would love to talk about your initiative at our open mic night too, like, and share kind of what you're doing. So, yeah, definitely.
All right, friends. Well, here's another episode of Poets Return. Flannery and Amy, thank you again.
Thank you for having us, Melissa.
We loved it.
Pavement girls.
Pavement girls loved it. Extra.
Poets Return, a poetry podcast where artists share their work and discuss their process, and let you see the story behind the words. This audio production is copyright 2019 by the Poets Return podcast, all rights reserved. The copyrights for each story are held by the respective authors. No duplication or reproduction of this audio program is permitted without the written consent of Melissa Bowie.
Oh, there's no music playing. No music.